One of the key factors for those seeking to get started with investing in passive index funds should be keeping costs low, as the less you pay in fees, the more of your money you can keep to invest in a fund of your choice, and this can make a massive difference to your future returns. Fees come in many forms, from investment platforms or brokers charging you a custody fee for holding your assets with them, to the foreign exchange fees that are sometimes charged if needing to convert your home currency to purchase an asset in space currency. And one of the main costs of investing in index funds or ETFs will be the total expense ratio, TER, which is also referred to as the ongoing charge figure, OCF. This fee has nothing to do with your investment platform or broker and where you hold your assets, but is a charge specifically related to any fund that you own and is for the upkeep or administration of that fund. This TER figure is transparent and generally published on the overview page of your fund and within the key information document that will be attached. Knowing this figure allows you to compare TERs of different funds that are doing similar things to see which one does it for the cheapest cost, with the general consensus being that the cheaper the cost, the better it will be for your future net returns. The problem is that many fund providers only highlight the TER, but fail to publish the total cost of ownership of the fund by excluding some less well-known transaction costs, which when added together with the TER would provide the real or total cost of ownership. These sometimes hidden additional costs would include transaction fees and taxes that all investment funds inevitably incur when trading the underlying assets. So what seemingly might be the cheapest fund may be more expensive than you think, and you will not see any itemised breakdown of these costs when checking on your return that your fund has provided to you, as returns are provided net of fund charge. It's therefore important to take account of these hidden transaction charges when comparing your shortlisted funds, as they can sometimes be similar in size to the actual TER. So in this video, we will look at various categories of index fund and ETF to help you find the cheapest overall. So starting off with world funds that include emerging markets, we have the lowest cost fund, which is Amundi Prime All Country World ETF Distribution, ticker PACW. This is the lowest cost fund to track the MSCI All Country World Index, which is one of two all-world indices to include emerging markets, with the other being the FTSE World Index. And the total cost of ownership for this one is a very low 0.7%. There are no hidden charges, and the published 0.7% TER is the total fund cost. The lowest cost FTSE All World ETF is Invesco FTSE All World ETF Accumulation, ticker FWRG, which has a total cost of ownership of 0.17%. This translates to a published TER or OCF of 0.15% and additional transaction fees of 0.02%. However, the lowest cost fund that tracks the FTSE All World Index is a mutual fund and not an ETF, and is the HSBC FTSE All World Index Fund, with a total cost of ownership of 0.15%. That translates to TER of 0.13% and transaction costs of 0.02%. The differences between ETFs and mutual funds are not worth explaining for the purposes of this video, as both types of funds do similar things. But a significant difference is availability. ETFs tend to be available on investment platforms where custody and broker fees are low or even nil, such as Trading212 and InvestEngine, whereas there are likely to be additional platform costs for holding a mutual fund. Vanguard, Hargreaves Lansdown, and AJ Bell are three examples of UK platforms where you can hold mutual funds for a fee. Therefore, even though a mutual fund like the HSBC fund might be cheaper, the cost of where it's available is also something for you to take into account. And moving on to the developed world funds, which exclude emerging market regions, which again consist of two main indices in either the MSCI World or FTSE Developed World, with the cheapest MSCI World Fund being the Amundi Prime Global UCITS ETF Distribution with the ticker of MWOZ. This has a total cost of ownership of 0.05%, which breaks down as a total expense ratio of 0.05% and no transaction costs. The cheapest FTSE Developed World ETF is the Franklin FTSE Developed World UCITS ETF Accumulation with the ticker of DWLD. This has a total cost of ownership of 0.11%. 0.09% is the total expense ratio, and the transaction cost is 0.02%. If looking for the lowest cost income equity fund for those who seek global funds with higher dividend yields for income, then the lowest cost fund is Xtrackers MSCI World High Dividend Yield ESG ETF Distribution with the ticker of XZDW. This has a total cost of ownership of 0.29%. TER is actually advertised as 0.25%, but there are hidden transaction costs at 0.04% also. For the lowest cost FTSE version, the well-known Vanguard FTSE All World High Dividend Yield ETF with the ticker of VHYG comes out with the lowest cost. Although the published 0.29% TER does not include additional hidden transaction costs of 0.03%, which means the total cost of ownership of this fund would be 0.32%. Moving on to the lowest cost funds that track the S&P 500 of the 500 largest US registered companies, the lowest cost ETF is the SPDR S&P 500 ETF Accumulation with the ticker of SPXL. with a total cost of ownership of 0.03%. And a similar alternative that tracks the MSCI USA Index of the leading stocks on the US market, 543 stocks in all, is Amundi MSCI USA ETF distribution with a ticker of MSCU. Again, this is very low cost with no transaction costs, with a total cost of ownership of 0.03%. If you're looking to invest in a government bond fund as part of your strategy to diversify and add stability to your portfolio, then the lowest cost shorter dated bond ETF available is either L&G UK Gilt 0 to 5 year ETF distribution with a ticker of UKG5 and a total cost of ownership of 0.07%, breaking down to be an OCF of 0.06% and transaction cost of 0.01%, or Invesco UK Gilt 1 to 5 year ETF distribution with a ticker of GLT5, again with the same total cost of ownership breakdown. This year has been a year where many investors looked to the safety of gold amidst increased market volatility, and various ETFs come with identical low costs, such as the WisdomTree Core Physical Gold ETF Accumulation GLDW, which has a TER and total cost of ownership of 0.12%. As I mentioned at the top of the video, the OCF or TER is only one of the main investing costs to contend with. Before making your final choice of fund, check on its availability and through which broker you will do your business. Some also charge their own transaction fees and holding charges on top of the fund charges, which when added together with the fund's total cost of ownership might make that fund less desirable and more expensive overall. Check also on the base currency of your funds, as you could incur foreign exchange charges to convert your home currency to make a purchase. Home currency denominated or hedge funds would probably be the best. And don't fall into the trap of trying to make everything else fit just because you have a low-cost fund to invest in. This is an important factor, but not the only factor you should be looking at. Thanks very much for watching.